Sleep is not just rest. It's not a passive shutdown or a break from reality. It's one of the most active and essential states your brain enters to repair, recalibrate, and regenerate. Every night, if allowed to cycle naturally, sleep orchestrates a series of neurochemical and electrical events that directly impact your cognitive function, your emotional regulation, and even your ability to learn, adapt, and recover. And the core of this process, the very engine behind brain repair, is deep sleep. To understand how to unlock deep sleep, we have to begin with a basic understanding of sleep architecture. Sleep is not a single uniform state. It's composed of cycles, typically 90 minutes long, which repeat throughout the night. Each cycle is a blend of non-REM and REM sleep. Non-REM itself has stages, and the deepest of those stages, flow wave sleep, is what we call deep sleep. This is when brainwaves slow down to a delta frequency and the body is at its most physically relaxed state. But internally, the brain is working harder than ever, flushing out toxins, consolidating memories, and releasing growth factors. One of the most important discoveries in recent neuroscience is the glymphatic system, a kind of waste clearance system in the brain. It's active almost exclusively during deep sleep. This system flushes out beta, amyloid, and tau proteins, both of which are associated with neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. So when we talk about brain repair during sleep, we are not speaking metaphorically. We mean literal biological repair at the cellular and molecular level. Now, how do you unlock this state of deep sleep? First, timing is critical. Your brain is governed by a 24-hour rhythm known as the circadian rhythm. This internal clock is primarily set by light, specifically sunlight. The timing of light exposure during the day determines when melatonin, the hormone that helps you fall asleep, is released at night. Getting sunlight within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking up is one of the most powerful levers you have. It anchors your circadian clock and sets the timer for melatonin to begin its rise about 14 to 16 hours later. The brighter the sunlight and the closer to waking, the better the signal. Light exposure in the evening, especially from screens and overhead LED, has the opposite effect. It suppresses melatonin and shifts your circadian rhythm later, delaying deep sleep. To preserve melatonin in release, it's crucial to dim the lights after sunset and avoid bright screens for at least 90 minutes before bed. If exposure is unavoidable, using blue light, blocking glasses or screen filters can help. But it's not just about reducing light, it's about controlling light, using it strategically to program the brain for optimal sleep timing. Temperature plays a key role as well. In order to fall asleep and stay in deep sleep, the body needs to drop in core temperature. The brain knows it's time to initiate sleep when the body's temperature begins to fall. You can accelerate this process by taking a warm shower or bath about an hour before bed. Paradoxically, heating the body temporarily causes a rebound cooling effect, helping you fall asleep faster and reach deep sleep more effectively. Lowering the ambient temperature of your bedroom to around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit also supports the natural thermoregulation process. Behaviorally, consistency matters. Going to sleep and waking up at the same time every day, even on weekends, locks in your circadian rhythm. Irregular sleep schedules fragment deep sleep and confuse the brain's internal timing system. Even a 1-hour shift can dramatically reduce the amount of slow-wave sleep you get. The brain does not respond well to inconsistency, it thrives on rhythm. Caffeine is another major player. It blocks adenosine, a molecule that builds up in the brain the longer you're awake, and contributes to the pressure to sleep. While caffeine doesn't eliminate adenosine, it masks its effects. The problem is, caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, and a quarter-life of up to 12 hours. So, if you drink coffee at 2 p.m., a significant portion of that caffeine is still in your system by 10 p.m. That blunts deep sleep, particularly in the first half of the night. If your goal is brain repair, cutting off caffeine at least 8 to 10 hours before bed is not just advisable, it's essential. Alcohol, despite its initial sedative effects, disrupts the structure of sleep. It fragments the cycles, suppresses REM, and diminishes deep sleep. What feels like passing out is not restorative rest, it's sedation, which is neurologically very different from natural sleep. If deep sleep and brain repair are priorities, then minimizing or eliminating alcohol, especially close to bedtime, becomes a non-negotiable strategy. Then there's the role of stress. Elevated cortisol levels in the evening can delay the onset of sleep and reduce the depth of slow-wave activity. Managing stress during the day, especially in the late afternoon and early evening, sets the stage for better sleep. One of the most effective tools to down-regulate your nervous system is physiological sighing, a pattern of breathing that consists of 2 quick inhales through the nose, followed by a slow exhale through the mouth. Just 5 to 10 rounds can bring the autonomic nervous system into balance, reducing heart rate and signaling to the brain that it's safe to enter a state of rest. Nutrition also has a say in this. Heavy meals too close to bedtime can disrupt sleep due to increased metabolic activity. However, going to bed hungry can also be counterproductive. A light snack with complex carbohydrates and a small amount of protein may help support serotonin and melatonin in synthesis, but timing is everything. Ideally, finish eating 2 to 3 hours before sleep to allow digestion to wind down while still supporting the brain's ability to transition into deeper phases of rest. Exercise is a potent modulator of sleep architecture. Regular physical activity, particularly when done earlier in the day, enhances deep sleep. This isn't just a correlation, it's a causation. Exercise increases sleep drive by promoting adenosine accumulation, as well as improving mood and reducing anxiety, which are major sleep disruptors. However, training intensely late at night, especially under bright lights, can backfire. It raises body temperature, cortisol, and adrenaline, 3 things you don't want elevated before bed. Supplements can support sleep, but should never be the foundation. That said, certain compounds have shown efficacy in promoting deeper, more restorative sleep. Magnesium threonate or bisglycinate, apigenin, and theanine are among the most studied. Each works through a different mechanism, either by calming the nervous system, supporting GABA activity, or reducing sleep latency. But these are tools to fine-tune an already sound protocol. They cannot replace the fundamentals: light, temperature, timing, behavior. There's also growing evidence for the role of sensory input, especially sound, in influencing deep sleep. White noise, pink noise, or even certain types of low-frequency rhythmic sounds can enhance slow-wave activity in the brain. The key is consistency and volume, not too loud, not too variable. Sound machines or specific apps designed for sleep optimization can help maintain an auditory environment that cues the brain into staying in deep sleep for longer periods. If you wake up in the middle of the night, the most important thing is not to panic. Waking up occasionally is normal. What matters is how quickly you can return to sleep and whether your sleep cycles resume properly. Avoid checking your phone or turning on lights, which can restart the circadian timer. Instead, focus on slow breathing and stillness. If you find your mind racing, journaling for a few minutes under dim light may help externalize those thoughts and reduce cognitive load. Mental clarity, emotional resilience, memory consolidation, motor skill development, all of these processes rely on deep sleep. It is during slow-wave sleep that the brain replays the day's events, decides what to keep, and prunes away what is no longer needed. This synaptic refinement is what allows you to learn, adapt, and grow. Without deep sleep, even the best learning protocols, therapies, or productivity hacks are severely compromised. Deep sleep isn't just a luxury, it's a requirement for high-functioning individuals. The brain is plastic, but only when it's well rested. Neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to change in response to experience, occurs most powerfully in 2 states, deep focus and deep sleep. One builds the pathways, the other reinforces them. Neglecting sleep is equivalent to building a house and never letting the cement dry. It's unstable, it's unsustainable. Unlocking deep sleep requires effort, but it's not complicated. You are working with biology, not against it. You are creating the right environment, light, temperature, sound, behavior for the brain to do what it has evolved to do over millennia. The return on investment is massive: better memory, sharper focus, quicker reflexes, more emotional regulation, and long-term brain health. You cannot supplement out, caffeinate or meditate a poor sleep protocol. The system is integrated. You align your lifestyle with your biology, or you suffer the consequences. The good news is that the body responds rapidly to these changes. With just a few nights of consistent sleep hygiene, most people report dramatic increases in energy, mood, and mental clarity. The brain is the most energy-demanding organ in the body. It represents only about 2% of your body weight, but consumes roughly 20% of your energy at rest. That kind of demand creates wear and tear, oxidative stress, synaptic overload, and metabolic byproducts. Deep sleep is the only known process that clears that debt in full. Skimping on it is like driving a high-performance car without ever changing the oil. Eventually, something breaks. So, whether you're an athlete, a parent, a student, or a high-performing professional, the path to peak performance and long-term resilience passes through the gate of deep sleep. It's not a passive luxury, it's a daily opportunity, an essential biological reset that primes your brain for repair, learning, and transformation. Once you understand how to unlock it, the brain does the rest. Let me know if you'd like a shorter version, visuals for video content, or voiceover style formatting. Unlocking deep sleep isn't only about nighttime habits. It starts the moment you wake up. One of the most underestimated contributors to poor sleep is fragmented wakefulness. That means if your daytime alertness is interrupted by constant digital distractions, low-level stressors, and irregular energy dips, your sleep at night will reflect that same fragmentation. The brain seeks continuity. So, when your waking hours are chaotic and unstructured, your nighttime cycles are often shallow and erratic. To counter this, adopting periods of focused work, deliberate movement, and moments of calm during the day creates the scaffolding for deep, restorative sleep later on. There's a bidirectional relationship between sleep and mental health. Anxiety, depression, and chronic stress all reduce the likelihood of entering or maintaining deep sleep. But what's often missed is that poor sleep can also initiate or worsen those same conditions. In fact, chronic sleep deprivation changes the way the amygdala, the brain's fear and emotion center, communicates with the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for logic and regulation. With compromised communication, emotions become more volatile, stress responses are exaggerated, and decision-making deteriorates. So deep sleep isn't just about clearing metabolic waste or consolidating memory. It's about maintaining psychological stability. Another important detail is that deep sleep is front-loaded in the night. That means most of your slow-wave sleep happens in the first half of your sleep period, while REM dominates the later half. This has enormous implications. If you go to bed late, or if your sleep is cut short due to early waking, you're not just losing time asleep. You're disproportionately losing the most regenerative, brain-repairing phases of sleep. This is why sleeping from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. is not equivalent to sleeping from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Even though both equal 8 hours, the circadian rhythm programs certain types of sleep at specific times. Delaying sleep compresses the window for deep sleep, robbing the brain of its nightly restoration. Napping, when used correctly, can be a helpful tool, especially for catching up on sleep debt. But naps that last too long or occur too late in the day can reduce your sleep drive at night, particularly the pressure needed to reach deep sleep. A 10 to 20-minute nap early in the afternoon can boost cognitive performance without interfering with your nocturnal sleep. However, if you find yourself needing naps every day just to function, that's not a sign of being clever. It's a red flag that your nighttime sleep isn't doing its job. That's a sign to go upstream and fix the core issue rather than compensating for it downstream. What you do with your mind during the day also affects your sleep. High levels of cognitive load, especially unprocessed thoughts or unresolved problems, often carry over into the night in the form of racing thoughts or nocturnal wakefulness. One evidence-based solution is cognitive offloading, a practice as simple as writing down your worries or next day tasks before bed. Research shows that even a brief journaling session can reduce the time it takes to fall asleep and increase the depth of early sleep cycles. The act of putting thoughts on paper allows the brain to release them from its active loop, reducing mental arousal and paving the way for deeper sleep. Physical posture and body alignment matter more than most people realize. Sleeping in a position that restricts breathing, especially for those prone to sleep apnea or snoring, significantly reduces the depth and quality of sleep. Nasal breathing, both during the day and night, improves oxygenation and supports slower, more restorative respiration. Training yourself to breathe through your nose using nasal strips, mouth taping, or simple awareness exercises can result in better sleep architecture, particularly more time in slow wave sleep. Electromagnetic frequency exposure, particularly from phones, Wi-Fi routers, and smart devices near the bed, is a growing area of concern. While the research is ongoing, early evidence suggests that EMF may influence melatonin secretion and increase nighttime arousals. Whether or not these devices are directly harmful to brain health, their presence often results in behavioral disruptions, checking messages, getting alerts, or simply associating the bed with stimulation. Creating a digital, free buffer zone around your sleeping area not only improves psychological boundaries, but may reduce subtle physiological interference as well. The quality of your mattress, pillow, and sleeping surface isn't trivial. The nervous system, including pressure receptors in the skin and spine, constantly communicates feedback to the brain even during sleep. An unsupportive surface can result in micro-arousals, brief, subconscious wake-ups that fragment sleep without you even remembering them. Over time, these micro-disruptions erode the continuity of deep sleep, leading to fatigue and cognitive fog. Investing in a sleeping environment that supports spinal alignment and body relaxation is not indulgent, it's foundational. Sleep inertia, the grogginess you feel upon waking, is largely determined by which sleep stage you emerge from. Waking from deep sleep produces the most inertia, while waking from lighter stages, or REM, leads to greater alertness. This is where sleep cycle timing comes in. Setting your alarm to go off at the end of a 90-minute cycle can help minimize inertia. Apps and devices that track movement or use gentle auditory cues can help wake you at the most optimal point in your cycle. Waking at the right time doesn't just feel better, it helps preserve your morning alertness and protects your circadian rhythm from unnecessary disruption. There's also a strong link between gut health and sleep quality. The gut produces and regulates key neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA, both of which play vital roles in initiating and sustaining deep sleep. Dysbiosis, an imbalance in the gut microbiome, has been associated with insomnia, fragmented sleep, and even nightmares. Eating a fiber-rich, diverse diet that supports microbial diversity enhances your brain's sleep, supporting chemistry, fermented foods, probiotic fibers, and avoiding excessive sugar and alcohol all contribute to a healthier gut sleep axis. Hormones govern every aspect of the sleep process. Cortisol, melatonin, ghrelin, leptin all fluctuate across a 24-hour cycle. Disruptions to this hormonal rhythm due to shift work, frequent time zone changes, or inconsistent habits wreak havoc on sleep quality. One of the fastest ways to rebalance this system is through light exposure and meal timing. Eating meals at consistent times, ideally during daylight hours, reinforces your metabolic circadian rhythm, which in turn influences your sleep-wake cycle. Consistency in both food and light is like giving the body a stable language to operate with. Chaos in either one leads to dysregulation and shallow sleep. Men and women experience sleep differently. Hormonal fluctuations across the menstrual cycle, pregnancy, and menopause significantly impact sleep onset, duration, and depth. Estrogen and progesterone influence thermoregulation and REM density. For example, during the luteal phase of the cycle, women often experience a slight increase in body temperature, which can make it harder to initiate deep sleep. Understanding these biological shifts allows for better planning, perhaps adjusting room temperature, bedtime routines, or even supplementation during certain phases. There is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to sleep. Your biology must inform your strategy. Sleep is also deeply cultural. In some parts of the world, segmented sleep, 2 sleep periods separated by a short wake period, is common and culturally supported. In others, polyphasic sleep patterns, shorter nighttime sleep combined with strategic naps are practiced. The takeaway is not that one pattern is superior, but that sleep strategies must align with individual needs, lifestyle constraints, and biological requirements. What matters most is that the total sleep time includes sufficient periods of uninterrupted deep sleep, and that the cycles remain relatively stable across days. Many people mistakenly think of sleep as something to fix only when it breaks. But sleep, like nutrition or exercise, is a domain to train, to optimize, and to protect proactively. Just as you would schedule your workouts or meal prep, your sleep should be approached with the same level of intentionality. Sleep is not a recovery from the day, it's preparation for tomorrow. It determines the quality of your focus, your relationships, your resilience, and your longevity. Even dreams, which often seem random or strange, serve a purpose. REM sleep dreams help integrate emotional memories, regulate mood, and problem-solve through associative thinking. But to access these dream states reliably, the foundation of deep sleep must be strong. You cannot skip the early stages of the cycle and expect your REM to be functional. The two systems support each other. Deep sleep clears the brain for better REM processing, and REM enhances emotional regulation that prepares the mind for a calmer next day. Children, teenagers, adults, and older individuals all have different sleep needs, yet the necessity for deep sleep remains constant. In aging populations, deep sleep naturally declines, which is why prioritizing sleep early in life has cumulative benefits. Practices that enhance slow-wave sleep in mid-life may be one of the most powerful interventions for preserving cognitive health later on. Protecting sleep in youth isn't just about immediate performance, it's about long-term brain resilience. People often ask about night owls versus early birds, what's called chronotype. Some individuals are genetically predisposed to fall asleep and wake later, while others are morning-oriented. The key isn't forcing one type into another's rhythm, but aligning lifestyle with your biological pattern. That said, modern society favors early rising, and night owls often struggle because their rhythms are misaligned with societal demands. Strategic light exposure, exercise timing, and meal shifts can gradually shift the circadian phase earlier, helping late chronotypes adapt without relying on stimulants or sleep aids. Ultimately, the human brain has evolved to use sleep as its most powerful tool for healing, learning, and adapting. No pill, practice, or protocol can substitute for what deep sleep naturally provides. It is the original biohack, the most potent enhancing, mood-regulating, performance-boosting tool available, and the beauty of it is that it's free, it's built in, you just have to honor it. Let me know if you'd like me to complete with a final concluding paragraph or adapt this content for a podcast, YouTube video, or book format. The relationship between inflammation and sleep is an emerging field of focus, and what we're finding is that chronic low-grade inflammation can significantly disrupt the architecture of sleep, particularly deep sleep. Inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha directly interfere with the brain's sleep-regulating systems. People with elevated inflammatory markers tend to take longer to fall asleep, wake up more often during the night, and experience less slow-wave sleep. What's particularly troubling is that poor sleep also increases these same inflammatory markers, creating a self-reinforcing loop that deteriorates brain health over time. One of the most powerful interventions here is exercise, not high-intensity overtraining that can elevate cortisol, but consistent, moderate-intensity movement, especially in the morning or early afternoon. Physical activity reduces inflammation and enhances the body's ability to enter deeper stages of sleep by improving metabolic efficiency and thermoregulation. Another underestimated factor in deep sleep is hydration status. While overhydration near bedtime can lead to nocturnal awakenings due to bathroom visits, mild dehydration throughout the day can increase cortisol and other stress hormones that interfere with falling and staying asleep. The brain is incredibly sensitive to even small shifts in electrolyte balance, and dehydration can lead to higher heart rates, increased core temperature, and disrupted brain wave patterns during sleep. The key is to maintain hydration during the day and taper fluid intake in the evening, allowing the body to enter sleep without the burden of overnight diuresis. Incorporating electrolytes, especially sodium and magnesium, can help maintain this balance, particularly in people who exercise or sweat heavily. We also need to consider the role of social connection and emotional processing in the sleep equation. Humans are social organisms, and our nervous systems are deeply attuned to the presence and behavior of others. Unresolved relational tension, feelings of loneliness, or perceived social threats activate the same neural pathways that manage fear and danger. This activates the sympathetic nervous system, raises cortisol, and delays or disrupts the transition into deep sleep. People who feel socially supported and emotionally secure fall asleep faster and experience longer periods of uninterrupted deep sleep. This isn't just about feeling good emotionally. It's a biological imperative tied to safety and survival. Engaging in meaningful social connection, practicing forgiveness, and resolving interpersonal stress before bedtime can all create a nervous system environment conducive to repair and restoration. There's also a growing body of research looking at the intersection of creativity, learning, and sleep. The consolidation of skill-based learning, particularly motor skills, languages, and abstract concept, occurs primarily during non-REM sleep, specifically slow-wave stages. This is when the hippocampus communicates with the neocortex, replaying and reinforcing the neural pathways laid down during the day. If this sleep stage is truncated or of poor quality, learning doesn't stick. It's the equivalent of practicing an instrument all day but skipping the part of the process where your brain encodes that learning into long-term memory. This explains why even slight sleep deficits lead to significant drops in academic performance, reaction time, and innovative thinking. It's not enough to study hard or train intensely. If deep sleep is compromised, performance gains are limited. The role of sound, particularly background noise and auditory stimulation, is also worth examining. The brain remains partially responsive to environmental cues during sleep, and this includes sound. Noises as subtle as distant traffic, inconsistent snoring, or the hum of electronics can increase microarousals and reduce sleep depth. However, there's a nuance here. Certain types of sound, like white noise or pink noise, can actually enhance deep sleep by masking disruptive auditory inputs and creating a consistent sensory environment. Pink noise, in particular, has been shown to synchronize with the brain's slow wave oscillations, reinforcing deep sleep and improving memory consolidation. The key is not silence, but the right kind of sound. Carefully chosen auditory environments can nudge the brain into deeper rest, especially in urban settings where noise pollution is inevitable. Thermal regulation is another powerful lever. Deep sleep requires a drop in core body temperature. This is why the ideal room temperature for sleep is between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Warm baths or saunas before bed can accelerate this cooling process by dilating blood vessels and allowing for more efficient heat loss. The contrast between the external heat and subsequent cooldown sends a signal to the hypothalamus to prepare for sleep. Similarly, materials in your bedding, such as breathable cotton or temperature-regulating wool, can impact how effectively your body maintains that drop in temperature. Memory foam and synthetic materials that trap heat can disrupt sleep cycles even if you don't fully wake up. Your skin, through thermoreceptors, communicates with your central nervous system to gauge the environment's suitability for sleep. If that message says too hot or too cold, deep sleep is the first casualty. One of the lesser discussed mechanisms of sleep enhancement is the concept of glymphatic clearance. This system, discovered relatively recently, acts as the brain's detox mechanism, flushing out cellular waste and harmful byproducts like beta, amyloid, and tau, both linked to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. This cleaning process only functions optimally during deep sleep. When the brain is in slow wave stages, neurons shrink slightly, creating more space between them and allowing cerebrospinal fluid to wash through more effectively. It's like a dishwasher cycle that runs only at night. Skipping or fragmenting deep sleep means your brain doesn't fully cleanse itself, leading to cognitive fog, emotional dysregulation, and over time, increased risk of neurodegeneration. Every night of restorative sleep is like investing in long-term cognitive health. Sleep is not isolated from other circadian rhythms in the body. It is intricately linked with everything from digestion to immune function to cardiovascular health. Each system has its own circadian pattern, and these rhythms are synchronized by a central pacemaker in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, located in the hypothalamus. This master clock relies on environmental cues, especially light and dark cycles, to stay aligned. Disruption in one system often ripples across others. For example, eating late at night not only disrupts metabolic rhythms but can also delay melatonin in production, throwing off the entire sleep cycle. Similarly, irregular wake-up times confuse the body's hormonal rhythms, leading to grogginess and unstable energy levels throughout the day. Consistency in sleep timing, light exposure, and food intake is more than a habit. It's the language your body uses to communicate with itself. Mental imagery and intention setting before sleep can prime the brain for specific outcomes. Athletes, musicians, and high performers often use this technique, visualizing success or rehearsing skills just before bed. The reason it works is because the brain processes visual imagery and real life experience through overlapping neural circuits. By engaging in mental rehearsal before sleep, you activate these circuits, and during slow wave sleep, the brain begins the process of consolidating those activations into stronger, more resilient pathways. This is also true for emotional processing. Visualizing calm, safety, or desired emotional states can help condition the nervous system to expect those states, creating a more relaxed physiological baseline that supports sleep. There is also a biochemical feedback loop involving the endocannabinoid system and sleep regulation. The body produces endogenous cannabinoids, compounds similar to those found in cannabis, that help regulate mood, appetite, and sleep. These compounds fluctuate in response to stress, nutrition, and physical activity. Chronic stress depletes endocannabinoid levels, which impairs the body's ability to wind down and enter deep sleep. While exogenous cannabis may help some people fall asleep, over time it can reduce REM sleep and lead to dependency. Supporting the body's natural cannabinoid system through exercise, omega-3 fatty acids, and stress management is a safer, more sustainable path to enhancing sleep quality. We can't ignore the role of belief and expectation. The placebo effect in sleep research is remarkably powerful. If someone believes they've slept deeply, even if objectively they haven't, they perform better cognitively and emotionally the next day. This speaks to the role of perception in sleep outcomes. It's not enough to just engineer the perfect sleep environment. Your mindset around sleep matters too. Fear of not sleeping, often called sleep anxiety, can itself prevent sleep. Reframing poor sleep nights as temporary, emphasizing progress over perfection, and trusting in your body's ability to self-regulate can actually create the conditions for better sleep. Lastly, let's talk about purpose. There is compelling evidence that people who feel a sense of purpose in their lives sleep better. It may seem abstract, but purpose acts as a psychological stabilizer. When people wake in the middle of the night with racing thoughts, it's often tied to unresolved questions about meaning, direction, or unresolved emotional loops. A sense of purpose creates a type of inner coherence that protects against this mental turbulence. It aligns the brain's default mode network, the system active during rest and self-reflection, and allows for deeper restoration. Purpose doesn't have to mean some grand mission. It can be as simple as knowing that your actions matter, that you are moving in a direction that feels congruent with who you are. This internal alignment creates a neurochemical environment, marked by balanced serotonin, lower cortisol, and rhythmic melatonin, that supports long, undisturbed sleep. Let me know if you'd like me to continue further or transition this into a book chapter, training module, or content for a video or podcast. Unlocking deep sleep is not a luxury. It's a biological necessity, a cornerstone of cognitive repair, emotional regulation, and long-term resilience. When you approach sleep with intention, understanding the levers of light, temperature, nutrition, stress, and timing, you begin to tap into one of the most powerful, naturally occurring healing processes the human body possesses. Every night is an opportunity for your brain to recalibrate, detoxify, and strengthen itself, but only if you allow it. By respecting the science of sleep and making consistent, deliberate choices throughout the day and evening, you don't just sleep better, you live better. The quality of your wakefulness depends on the quality of your sleep, and deep sleep is where the real work gets done.